Hey everyone, welcome to the YouTube channel for your Grand Prairie Constituency Association for the Wildrose Independence Party of Alberta. As many of you have hopefully already heard, we had our annual general meeting on July 23rd of 2022. It was located in Red Deer, Alberta at the Baymont Hotel. Now I know many of you are not interested in politics. Politics can be a little bit boring for just about everybody. However, as far as politics goes and as far as AGMs go, I would say that this was probably the most exciting event that many people have ever experienced before. So I'm going to dive right into the details of what happened that day, but just a couple of disclaimers before we get started. So we have the entire day recorded, which is just over 10 hours of footage. If you're interested in seeing that, I'll put a link to that in the top right hand corner right now. It is over 10 hours, so I highly recommend you watch the edited down version, which I'll also place in the top right hand corner if you want to watch that one instead. It's still just under 5 hours long. So the purpose of today's video is to give you a really condensed version of what happened that day without all of the other nonsense that happened in between. I just want to hit on a couple of major points, and then of course you can refer back to the full length footage if you need proof or backup of what the claims are that I'm making. Now as far as that goes, I will be interjecting some personal opinions, and this video is certainly not indicative of what our newly elected Provincial Board of Governors thinks or feels. So right out of the gate, one of the first things that happened that I thought was strange was the fact that it wasn't the president of the Provincial Board of Governors that actually started or initiated the meeting. It was actually Bill Jones, our former CFO.
Welcome, Wildrosers. Just a few
Recording in progress.
items to clear up. The washrooms are to your left. Follow the signs down a little bit of walk the hallways, and there's one to the right, but occasionally it's locked. Lunch is being provided by the party at noon. We would, however, ask for a donation to offset the costs, and anything under $50 is 50%. Everything over $50 is $25 minus that donation, and over 100 is 75% donation back. You get a tax receipt. Okay, thank you. I'll call up Rick Northey.
And then thankfully, the president did actually get up and say something, albeit it was very short and sweet, but his job was basically to introduce the parliamentarian that the provincial board had hired to chair this meeting.
Well, welcome everybody to Wildrose AGM 2022. It's glad to see such a great turnout. The only duty I have to perform at this moment is to introduce our parliamentarian, Mr. Todd Brand. He is going to chair the meeting and maintain order and decorum. So please, everybody give a round of applause for Todd.
Which, as it turns out, my personal opinion was actually a good call on their part. The parliamentarian that they hired, his name was Todd Brand, and he did a phenomenal job. In fact, despite of how the day actually turned out, I actually went out and met up with Todd Brand after he was finished with the meeting, and you'll see what I mean by that in a couple of minutes. But I did go up to him and shake his hand and thank him for doing such a good job and for staying so entirely professional.
All right. Again, yes, my name is Todd Brand. I'm a professional registered parliamentarian and a certified parliamentarian, and I am very grateful for the opportunity to serve as your presiding chair and parliamentarian for this meeting. I have the honor and privilege of serving many organizations in this role, and I can truly say that I am looking forward to assisting you in completing the business of your annual general meeting here today, and looking forward to helping you accomplish the business that has been set out before you through your bylaws and through legislation as well. So at this time, I now call the 2022 Wildrose Independence Party of Alberta General Meeting to order. We're called to order. So yes, please go ahead to the microphone and please state your point.
So Mr. Todd Brand, the parliamentarian, starts the meeting and officially calls the meeting to order. And there's where it starts. Immediately, the assembly moved into points of order to discuss aspects of the proposed AGM that we had issues with. And it was actually Angela Tabak, and the reason I point that out is because she ends up being elected as the new president of the Provincial Board of Governors. She did a fantastic job, she stayed incredibly professional, and she did exactly what the assembly needed her to do. Let's take a look.
The membership needs the opportunity to officially adopt today's agenda. The current agenda does not provide for invitation for adoption of the agenda provided for in Robert's Rules of Order. The agenda needs to be adjusted to include insertion of adoption of agenda.
Thank you for stating your point. Your point is not well taken. So if I can refer you to the bylaws give the jurisdiction of setting the agenda to the Board of Governors. Now, it's not the Board of Governors giving you that, giving themselves that responsibility. The membership through the bylaws have assigned the task of setting the agenda for today to the Board of Governors. So it's through the bylaw. So
once the parliamentarian basically shut that down and basically said, you guys don't have any say whatsoever, this is how it's going to be, let's move on. Well, then came the onslaught of points of order for, I want to say, approximately the next 2.5 to 3 hours. Now, I've never actually sat down and figured out how many points of order the Assembly put forth. I've had some people say that there was 57. I've had other people say that there was over 130. I don't know for sure because I never counted, but there was a lot of them. And I'm not going to show them all in this video, but just to give you an idea of what the next 2.5 or 3 hours looked like, this was it.
I appealed the decision of the chair.
thank you. Unfortunately, when there is a clear decision from bylaws, that is not an appealable point of order. So the ruling of the chair cannot be appealed when there is only one interpretation that's valid. So if you,
Point of order, point of order.
did you say point of order? I'm not sure.
Yes, I did say
Go.
point of order.
Please state your point.
Point of order, point of order.
Point of information.
Point of order.
Sorry, there's a point of order, so I'll wait to stand at ease. Who made the point? I heard the words, but not sure who said it.
Point of order.
Excuse me. Yes, sorry, point of information. Go ahead.
Point of order.
Did I hear another point of order? So yeah, I will stop for the point of order.
Well, my point of order here, point of order,
That this is a point of order.
point of order,
Privilege.
point of order, point of order,
Privilege.
point of order, point of order.
I think it's point of assembly or.
Point of order.
Point of order.
Sir, I have a point of order. I've been waiting patiently.
Point of information, not necessarily point of order.
I'm going to go to the back microphone for a point of order.
Point of order.
So
Point of order.
point of order, microphone one first.
It was at this point of the meeting where a member of the Assembly actually came up to the microphone and tried to call the meeting adjourned. Now, while this person's intentions were definitely in the right place, it wasn't a part of the program. It wasn't the right move for us to be making at that point. But what it did do is essentially started an onslaught of events that would essentially end in the provincial board or the former provincial board of governors leaving the meeting while it was still in recess, taking their parliamentarian and their hired bodyguards with them, essentially leaving the Assembly to do whatever they wanted to do with the rest of the meeting. So of course, that's exactly what we did.
I move we adjourn this fiasco meeting right now.
I'm
In a show of hands.
no, I'm opposed. We need to have a debate on that. I'm opposed to that. We've come too far to give up now.
Okay. I'm going to ask the membership to give me about a 2-minute stand at ease, and I will get ready to process the motion to adjourn. I want to check a couple of things before I do that to make sure we do it properly and give you the proper rights to either debate or not debate on that motion.
So we've now just had a member of the Assembly put forth a motion to actually call the meeting adjourned. And immediately after that happened, Mr. Paul Hinman actually came into the room to speak with that member of the Assembly, indicating to him that that wasn't what we wanted to have happen. The motion was never seconded and was never voted on. And within a couple of minutes of that, the member actually elected to revoke or rescind his motion to adjourn.
Mr. Speaker, I withdraw my motion right now. Mr. Speaker, I want to ensure that I have withdrawn that motion, sir.
Yeah, so your motion to adjourn was not seconded yet, so you do have the right to withdraw it.
Okay,
Okay.
very good.
Hi, I've been made aware that we're past our 2 minutes. The meeting will continue and come back to order once everyone's returned to their seat. And any members who are not in good order, or sorry, in good standing, are not in the room any longer. So at that point, the meeting will continue. Until then, it will stay in recess. I'm unclear what it is you're saying no to. Absolutely. No, I did not order you to say. I just said that the meeting will continue at that point. You can stay standing as long as you want. Sorry, the meeting is in recess. I'm not going to have a conversation with people milling around. When we're back into good order, I will continue the meeting at that point.
And it was pretty much at this point of the game where Paul Hinman was now in the room where we wanted him to be the entire day, and a large majority of the Assembly actually stood up around Paul Hinman to make sure that none of the security guards could get to him, so that none of the former members of the Provincial Board of Governors could get to him, basically so that nobody could get to Mr. Hinman. And very shortly after that, he made his way to the stage with Mr. Danny Hozak, and that's where the meeting started turning in our direction. So Mr. Hozak is up on stage with Mr. Hinman, with that really good-looking gentleman just behind and to the right of Mr. Hozak. It was at this point where Wes Caldwell felt that it was time to silence the majority and made his way over to the AV table and tried to disconnect the microphone that Mr. Hozak was using.
And who is who? And where each who stands on the issues before us. The board, as I'm certain you have heard, is a very divided.
I don't know at what stage of the video that I would have been talking about this at, but the Provincial Board of Governors actually hired themselves some personal bodyguards. There was 2 security guards there that were there to keep the peace. However, there was no violence, there was no anger, there was no animosity in the room. In fact, for the most part, the room stayed incredibly happy. So we were only able to surmise that those 2 security guards there were only there for the Provincial Board of Governors to make sure none of them got hurt. Well, nobody's going to get hurt at an annual general meeting of a political party. Like, come on. Who do you think we are? This little snippet of video coming up next is an example of how scared Rick Northey was of there actually being physical violence committed against any member of the former Provincial Board of Governors.
Very divided into what I affectionately call the minority group. Everybody be quiet, please. I mean, we finally get to where we can.
Yeah, that's right. He's sitting at his table calmly, safely, not in any kind of a threatening situation at all, drinking his coffee with the security guards nowhere around to be found. They were just off of screen just a little bit, but they were about 15 to 20 feet away. Now, we all thought at this point that these security guards that I was just talking about a minute ago were actually pushing towards the stage to physically remove Mr. Hinman from the stage and probably Mr. Hozak as well. It turns out that that isn't what they were doing. They were actually going in to retrieve the former Provincial Board of Governors to escort them out of the meeting. But because we've seen them motioning towards the stage, which is exactly where the former Provincial Board of Governors table was right in front of the stage, because they were moving towards the stage, we thought they were coming for Mr. Hinman. The first order of business, of course, we called the meeting back from recess, so we called the meeting back to order. We then put forth a vote of non-confidence of our former Provincial Board of Governors, and of course that passed without a single objection.
Recording stopped.
Once the former provincial board realized that they no longer had control of this meeting, in fact, they never did right from the very start, they realized that it was time for them to go. They had nothing left that they could do. This is where they made their exit. Now, the footage of them actually leaving the room is a little bit here and there. It was done by a couple of different cameras. So I'm going to try and gather up some footage here so that you all can get a better visualization of what actually happened as they were leaving the meeting.
Step down. Step down.
Could have been avoided if you'd let us actually talk about the agenda.
Step down. Step down. Step down. Step down. Step down. Step down.
I'd like to make a motion of no confidence in our board.
I second it! Let us actually talk about the agenda.
Oh, good. They're getting in. Yoo-hoo!
I'm sure had they still been in the room that they probably would have objected to that themselves. However, they had left, they had already taken their toys and went home. So we then spent the rest of the afternoon electing a new board. We did some speeches. Every single one of us in the room, as well as the party members that were attending virtually, we all cast our ballots. We voted for the people that we wanted to be on our newly elected Provincial Board of Governors. Of course, we tallied up those votes, announced the winners of each one of the positions, and then introduced the new board to the assembly. All in all, believe it or not, it was an incredibly exciting day, and it's very indicative of what we need to do as Albertans to stand up and fight for our rights. We know that we're being abused from various different fronts. Our relationship with Ottawa is a complete joke and always has been, and even our personal relationship with our provincial government has never really been that good either. So this Wildrose AGM was essentially an example of what we need to do as Albertans to stand up for our rights and to never relent until we get the responses that we want from our governments. I will be making this video publicly available. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I'm willing to take that chance. There's a lot of legal terms being tossed around between certain members members and previous members and former members. There's a lot of stuff going on right now, and I don't know where all of that stuff lands each individual person. However, this is what happened. We have the video proof of exactly what happened that day, and it can't be contested. Like, if you're looking for the truth, just watch the video for yourself. There's absolutely no way that it can be misconstrued in a way that makes us wrong and the former board right. Okay, I think that pretty much sums up my narrative for this video. I'm hoping that this doesn't turn into a really long video so that I can keep most of your attention throughout the video. If you'd like to follow us on Twitter, you can hit us up at Wildrose GP on Twitter or Wildrose Nation Grand Prairie on Instagram. And of course, if you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to this channel right here and like this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.